Hello all and welcome back to the channel. End of the spring is very near, but the beginning of a fantastic summer is just here. All the birds have been placed outdoor in the big aviary now, and lots of breeding is already going on. As this is the first breeding update of 2023, I have a lot of news to tell you, both regarding breeding already undergoing, but also on new bird species, new plants and accessories in the aviary. All the finches and soft-bills that will go outdoor this year have already been placed outdoor. And for several weeks we have had some fantastic spring weather with high temperatures during also the night, which is perfect for all the birds. So indoor at the moment only remains some of the birds that I need to sell, but also some of the canary birds and goldfinches that I'm breeding indoor. Once again, welcome very much. I'm really looking forward to sharing everything with you. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, I love to hear it, so please leave a comment. As you may have seen in some of the previous videos, I have a lot of Gouldian finches at the moment, and I've had quite a good success breeding them indoor this season. Some of the adult Gouldian finches that's finished breeding or have not begun yet have been moved outdoor, so I already have 3 pairs in the outdoor aviary. And because of all the success, I tried to make a short video on the Gouldian finch development from eggs to chicks ready to fledge. So I'll put it in the end of this video if you have not seen it already. And even though I've seen this development from eggs to grown chicks several times, I still find it extremely fascinating and interesting to watch. So go and see it if you haven't already. For me, the breeding of chicks and the development of them is one of the most interesting things about this hobby. And this goes as well for the bearded Riedling we see here. And right now I think we have 2 pairs on eggs, if not chicks, already in one of the nests. Bred this species before, but the last 2 years it didn't work out, mainly because the birds began to breed way too soon in the spring, and the eggs and chicks were ruined by frost. This year I tried to postpone the feeding with the insects, and it actually seemed to help, so the birds began the breeding later on. Another thing I had to change this year was the village weavers. I moved to the aviary with the chickens and the cockatoos. And following the move of the birds, I put in a lot of new plants because several of the plants from last year were ruined by exactly the village weavers. Even though I'm still very fascinated by the nest building of the village weavers, their destructive behavior towards the plants simply was a no-go, as making a green and nature-looking aviary is one of the top priorities for me. Now I'm enjoying that species in the other aviary, where they can't ruin any plants. One of the first species to begin breeding when they were moved outdoor is this long-tailed finch. This low-hanging nest is taken by a pair of zebra finches. In the middle of the aviary, this nest has been occupied by a pair of birds I haven't identified yet. And in the top of the aviary, almost 3.5 meters above the ground, we have a pair of red siskins on. And here we have one of the remaining village weaver nests. There are plenty of them in the aviary still, and many of them are occupied by some of the smaller birds. And in the top of the aviary, as always, we have this pair of red-crested cardinals. Because of the height, it's very lucky for me that I can get some assistance from the kids when I need to look into the eggs and check if they are chicks. As always, I try to fill up the aviary with different birds, which occupies different parts of the aviary. Some on the ground, some in the middle, and some in the top of the aviary. Besides the more obvious ground birds as quails, I found that the Luzon bleeding heart dove is a fantastic species to have in the aviary if you have room enough. A large bird, but quite easy to keep, and also to rear if you have a pair that can find out to place their nest a natural place. I've bred the Luzons several times before, but this year my pair is not very clever when they are laying their eggs. For now, 3 attempts, meaning 6 eggs, my pair have tried to place the eggs on sticks 2 meters above the ground. I've actually tried to place several different kinds of nests for them, but so far without any luck. The last 2 days I found the female on this plateau I built for them, so hopefully the next eggs will be laid on that and not fell down to the ground. I certainly keep my fingers crossed for that. Here we have the fantastic song of the Peking robin. I'm really a huge fan of this song, and luckily the Peking robin is singing from the early spring to late autumn, and these days it's most of the day as well. I'm not quite sure, but I believe I have at least 6 or 8 adult Peking robins in the aviary right now. First 2 chicks have already fledged. Unfortunately, I recently lost my female northern cardinal, but I was very lucky to find a new fantastic female already. I've seen the courtship several times, so hopefully I'm able to see a scene like this again this year. A bright red-colored northern cardinal male feeding his chicks. A pair of black siskins already had 4 chicks earlier this year, but unfortunately none of them survived. It was a first-time breed for me of this species, so I was very lucky and very happy to see that they could incubate their eggs, and hopefully they will succeed in rearing the chicks as well in their next clutch. It's a very beautiful and also a very strong species, and this year I kept them outdoor during all winter without any problems at all. The same goes for the northern cardinals, which I also keep outdoor all year. And that goes as well for the small broad-winged white-eye you see here. This beautiful yellow bird is the Sudan golden sparrow. I bred it first time last year with 2 clutches, and this year they already got some on sticks as well. And here you see their very interesting nest. It's a massive built construction with small branches. I was not able to find much information about the Sudan golden finch before I acquired a pair, so I'm slowly still getting to learn them more and more. I know in some places it's called the song sparrow as well, but actually I haven't heard the song yet, so I'm looking forward to that part. I have them in a flock of around 8 birds right now, and it goes very well. They were kept outdoor all winter without any problems at all, and they seem to build a colony nest, so several birds in one nest at the moment. Wonderful species, I can warmly recommend them. It's quite easy to keep and breed, but you need to be aware that during the breeding season they are more or less soft bills, meaning they take up lots of insects. At the moment the Sudan golden sparrows have made a small flock with the Java sparrows, so they are more or less together all the time. Here you can see another of the ground birds. It's the rulrul, also known as the crested partridge. It's the female, and unfortunately I lost the male last year. I got a new male only 2 months ago, but it died 1 week ago. So I don't know what's going on, but apparently they get some kind of disease and slowly get thinner and thinner and die. Luckily it doesn't seem to affect the female, but I'll take the dead male and send him to the veterinary so we can make an autopsy and see what's wrong. At the moment I have a small wonderful flock of 5 starfinches. I think it's 2 females or only 1 if I'm a bit unlucky. But I'm certain I have at least 1 pair because they built in this nest and already on eggs. The starfinches is one of the more fragile species, and they have been indoor all winter. A challenge if you have many different species is that you can't have a big flock of each of them. And that's the case with the white-eared bilbil as well. I only got 1 male left. I lost the female 2 years ago, but haven't been able to find a new female for him. Nevertheless, he is, as you can see, a very old bird, so I don't think he's good breeding material anymore. Another new species for me is this wonderful little dove, mostly on the ground, but a wonderful flyer as well. A new behavior, which makes a good look in the aviary. The way of flying was so different that the turacos actually attacked them a lot in the beginning because they thought they were something strange they needed to defend them for, but now everything's fine and a lot of peace in the aviary again. Another new addition for the aviary is this small garden water fountain. It was very easy to install as it's driven by solar power and have its own little solar panel. It has been very fun to watch how all the birds are fascinated by this running water, because as soon as the solar is on, the solar power begins and the water begins to run down, and all the birds flock in to bath in each of the small water plateaus. I think I'm not so happy with is that it's more or less impossible to clean this sufficiently, so that's one of my concerns. With regards to the Sudan golden sparrow I spoke of before, on this small rock you can see a juvenile female. And in the bottom right corner you can see a Napoleon Viva slowly getting his color for the breeding season. Whereas I have bred the red-throated parrot finches several times, I haven't had the pleasure of breeding the beautiful blue ultramarine grosbeak yet. Last year the pair for sure exhibited a lot of breeding behavior, a lot of dancing and courtship, and this year they seem a bit strange to me. I see and hear a lot of song, but rather than making courtship, they are actually chasing each other quite a lot through the aviary from one end to the other. At first I was quite nervous about this behavior, but luckily it seems both the male and the female is still in wonderful condition, and perhaps this is even part of the breeding. And especially because this species is very rare in the European aviaries, I really hope I can breed them this year. Last year I was very lucky, as I was given 2 pairs of silver Java sparrows from one of our viewers. They have already provided 6 wonderful chicks indoor this winter, and now already in the outdoor aviary they have chicks again. So probably I will have a very large flock of these wonderful Java sparrows come autumn. Never had the Java sparrow before, so it's wonderful finally to be able to experience the wonderful behavior of this bird. Despite the Java sparrow being a quite big bird compared to several of the finches and waxbills, I haven't seen any problems yet, but it's going to be very interesting to experience the rest of this summer to see if it will still go without any problems as the flock grows. Here we have the red-headed finch, a species where you can see a clear difference between the male and the female. 2 years ago I had 5 chicks of this species, but last year I had 0. So it's going to be lucky to see how the 2 pairs manage it this year, and right now both pairs are on eggs. They need a lot of insects while rearing the chicks, but at the same time it's a problem if they have too many insects, because they then tend to throw out the chicks. This is a matter you are able to control if you breed them in cages or pair by pair, but if you have them in an aviary like mine, it's very hard to solve that problem. But this is one of the reasons I make sure that a few times during the day the birds don't have any insects, so they have to use lots of time to go and look all around the aviary for whatever they can find of wild insects. The different behavior when the birds are hunting for the different kind of preferred insects is also very fascinating to watch. Where many of the birds mainly feed on the ground, others are all over the aviary, and again some species are mainly inside the bushes looking for insects. I've mentioned it in other videos, but I always find it very interesting to see that when I provide lots of fruits and insects for the softbills, the birds and finches we see mainly as seed eaters come join the feeding when they are provided both fruits, green and insects. And inside the breeding period we need to be aware that the insects and the fruits, etc., makes up a large portion of these finches' diet. And also, while breeding in the wild, many finches like zebra finch and Goodyear finch actually eat lots of termites and other insects while rearing their chicks. It's the first time for me to have the yellow-winged petilia in the outdoor aviary. I had them indoor during winter, and actually they had 2 clutches, but the chicks died within a few days after hatching. So probably they are relaxing now, and I'll have to wait till next winter season before they try again. Contrary to this, my 2 pairs of chestnut-breasted Munia did not do anything during this winter, but as soon as they were set loose in the outdoor aviary, they began to sing and making courtship, so probably they will be nesting soon. I have not bred that species before, so I really hope they'll succeed this summer. In another episode, I will show you how the breeding is going with my canary birds indoor at the moment, but right now I have 3 males, I think, in the outdoor aviary, simply to give some colors and a lot of wonderful singing. As the indoor breeding season for the canaries will slowly end, I think I'll take more of the pairs that are finished breeding in the outdoor aviary, just so they can have lots of sun and exercise. For the first time, I this year have bought 2 pairs of bronze manakins. There's no clear visual difference between the sexes, so I've had them DNA tested, so I'm certain I have 2 pairs. Even though they've been in the aviary less than 1 month, both pairs seems to be building, so hopefully they will bring chicks very soon. Even though it's one of the smaller species I have in the aviary, you see them a lot because they're always on the move, both in the top and in the bottom of the aviary. Very fun little bird. One of the more heat-needing birds I have is the blue-headed cordon bleu, and for that reason this was one of the last birds to be put in the outdoor aviary. They were released only a week ago, but actually 3 days ago I saw them building already, so they seem to be on the move as well. And here you see the northern red bishop, also known as the orange weaver. This is from last year, where he had all his colors, because this year he has not yet colored out. This year I only have 1 pair of Senegal white-eyes, also known as Zosterops. They have been indoor all winter and have just been moved outdoor. Nothing going on with them yet. The species resembles the one of the broad-winged white-eye very much, but the broad-winged is a bigger bird, and the white ring around its eyes is much broader on the broad-winged than on the Senegals. Sometimes the broad-winged is wrongly known as the Kikuyu white-eye as well, but that's not the correct species. I've been lucky to breed both species before, so hopefully they'll provide chicks again this year. And on that note, I'm very much aware that I keep telling you about all the good stories and all the breeding that's going on, but I need to be fair and say that very often I also lose some birds. Sometimes probably due to aging, but sometimes also due to accidents. And this spring I actually lost several birds in the outdoor aviary, probably because of an owl attacking during the night, where I could see some of the birds lost their heads or even their legs being pulled off through the wire. But now, as a lot of the plants have gotten their leaves, this has stopped. Another offender of this could be a cat I see sometime on top of the aviary, so I'm thinking about how to stop this, perhaps by setting up electric wire on the sides on the top of the aviary. And if we for a brief look go to the other aviary, where we have the budgies, the cockatoos, the chickens, the cockatiels and a single lovebird. On the one side, we in the other category of birds have a wonderful pair of glossy starlings, as well as a male and 2 females of the village weaver. Last day I seen the glossy starling male beginning to fly around with nesting materials, so I probably, as I did last year, will move this pair indoor for an aviary of their own, where it is not destroyed, the nest, by the cockatoos. I think I have 2 males of the cockatiels, so please confirm if you agree or not. It's quite interesting for me to learn. So they won't do anything, whereas the cockatoos are still a bit too young. But this year they've actually been in the nest quite a lot, so it's very clear to me that they are aging, maturing, and hopefully next year they could produce some eggs. It's a wonderful bird and I love it. Also the budgies are breeding a lot as usual, producing lots of different kinds of wonderful colors, which really makes up for this aviary. And even though it's a risky mixture of birds, a strange setup, it actually goes without any problems, major problems at least, at all. I haven't had any injured birds or any birds seeming not to thrive. But back to the other aviary with all the soft bills and the finches, where, as I previously said, I have several Peking robins breeding, and they were actually one of the first birds to have chicks this year, which you may have already seen in one of my previous small videos this year. Due to the size of the aviary and all the plants, it's not always very clear to see what's going on, but I believe they reared 2 chicks successfully. So as you can see, and as always, if you have so many birds, a lot is going on all the time. Both good stories and bad accidents happens, but it is truly a hobby I enjoy so much, and I'm so thrilled that I can actually share it with all of you. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave a message for me. I love to read them and hear your thoughts and your views on what we just been through in this video. Also, if you have any specific questions or ideas for coming videos, please let me know. And with regards to the breeding of Gouldian finches, and as promised previous in this video, I will end by showing you the short video I made of the development of Gouldian finches from the eggs hatches day 0 or day 1 till they are ready to fledge the nest. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed all the video. Take care. Bye bye.